Dear friends, I'm very happy to welcome you at our webinar dedicated to the new build properties in Cyprus. I'm very grateful that you found time to visit us and to stay with us for this hour. And that's why I really encourage us to have a very good conversations. And please feel free to ask any questions you might have. And I will try my best to tell you absolutely as much as possible about your questions and provide you with maximum information about our wonderful island. So as we showed in our advertising, today we're trying to do a different topic for our webinars. If you followed us before, you know that we're doing webinars every month, and every month we cover a new topic. Every month we try to find something that is of interest to our potential clients. And today we are going to speak about new builds in Cyprus, which is new construction in Cyprus. Before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Anastasia Yianni, and I'm the CEO and partner of Cyprus Sotheby's International Realty. I've been living in Cyprus for the last 20 years, and I have been working in Cyprus real estate market for the last 20 years. I really love the island. My family is here, my parents, my children. I love real estate, so it's not just profession, it's actually my passion. So I would be very happy to share this experience with you. Cyprus Sotheby's International Realty is part of Sotheby's International Realty Network, which is one of the largest international luxury real estate brokerage network. The company is presented in 79 countries, and we have more than 25,000 agents all around the world. What does it mean for you? It means that even though we are in Cyprus, we have international knowledge. So we can compare Cyprus with other countries. We can see the pluses and minuses of Cyprus compared to other countries as well. Because in most cases, our buyers are international. So you have a choice of any country. And by the way, this would really help me guide the presentation and maybe make more points if you can type in the chat box from which country you are listening from, because this will help me maybe provide some more information for this particular market. So thank you very much. In Cyprus, our company is built on 4 main principles. And I'm very careful when we are talking about these principles and these values. Everything we do from the point of knowledge, efficiency, ethics, and style. We are fully licensed real estate agency in Cyprus. If you practice real estate, it's a licensed profession, so it's very important to be represented by a licensed professional. We work all over Cyprus with all developers and private sellers. Our offices are in Paphos, and now we are opening the office in Limassol. And soon we will open physical office in Larnaca. But at the moment, we have salespeople in all the areas. All the properties that we represent follow strict due diligence procedures. Our company is multilingual. We have more than 25 people, and we speak English, Russian, Serbian, Greek, German. We have full in-house marketing, which is important if you decide to sell your property with us in the future. And as I mentioned before, we work through the filters of high ethics and professional international standards. We have wide network of trusted partners in legal, immigration, and tax profession. So this was my short introduction, and thank you very much for sharing where you're from. I will try to fine-tune some of the parts of the presentation to your particular countries. So what are we going to talk today? Today, we will start with the analysis of real estate market. What is happening with supply and demand, and why more and more people go for the new build properties, because this is also part of supply. What is the range of new build projects available in different parts of Cyprus? And what do we mean when we talk about the new build and different type of properties? I will touch a little bit the subject on specifics of pricing and ownership of a new property at the different stages of construction. And we will do the comparison, even though we said we said in our presentation main advantages. In reality, this is just some characteristics of a property, because we cannot say that new build is always better than resales. So we would just say that what are the advantages or what are the differences between resale properties and new build for foreign investors. We are not tax advisors, but we will touch a little bit the taxes for new properties. And of course, we will leave enough time for questions and answers. However, it is, as we run webinars all the time, it's really nice when you ask questions even as I go along with presentation. And I promise, if the question is relevant exactly to the topic that I'm covering, I will be able to answer immediately. Okay, so let's start. As I mentioned earlier, we understand very well that, let's say, when you are in France or in Israel or in UK or in Germany or in any country in the world, you have the map of the world in front of you, and you can choose any country that you want for your future investment. So why would you consider Cyprus? I love Cyprus, so I cannot be very objective. So I will try to be, and I will cover just the main advantages. Of course, the first and foremost, it's the weather. It's the weather. The weather in Cyprus is absolutely amazing. And now after the recent heat wave in Europe, maybe you're not so keen on sunny days, but trust me, sunny days in Cyprus is different to sunny or very hot days in Europe. So we have more than 340 sunny days in Cyprus per year. We do not have any heavy industry. So the environmental situation and the quality of air and water is one of the highest. In fact, in Cyprus, we have one of the highest age in the world, and there is a joke that the men die very, very old and women never die, because the environmental situation and the cleanliness of air and water is very high. But this is words. There is also the proof that Cyprus has cleanest beaches in Europe. In Cyprus, we have the culture of hospitality. So when you move to Cyprus, you do feel welcome. And I'm a foreigner myself, living here for the last 20 years. I never felt myself not being welcome and feeling an alien. Last few years showed that we have excellent healthcare system in Cyprus. And actually, the disaster and horror of COVID worked very well for Cyprus, because more and more people are actually moving to Cyprus now, because they realize they all learned to work online. So COVID showed that you can still work where you were working before, but you can be in much better physical environment. One more point about the healthcare, that when you move to Cyprus and when you get permanent residency, you can, and if you move to Cyprus with relocation purposes, then you have access to a very good national healthcare system that we have in Cyprus. Location-wise, even though Cyprus is an island, it has very easy connection. So again, we are not too far from European countries. We have flights. We have two airports in Cyprus, and the flights are literally going any direction. Cyprus has British law-based legal system, which makes everything very transparent and understandable. English language widely spoken, and just to give you an idea, that even the contracts of sale in Cyprus are done in English. And in many cases, it's also possible even to have official translation and even register the dual language sale agreement in the land registry. Cyprus has modern bank and legal system. The quality of education is very high. In fact, more and more families are relocating to Cyprus, partly because of the school education. Because again, most schools, international, actually you have several types of school. You have Greek schools, which is free of charge for anyone. The teaching is in Greek and it's a very good curriculum. But we also have plethora of international schools, which are all run on the basis of British curriculum. The teaching is in English and the level of education is excellent, but the price is much less than in Europe. Cyprus is very safe country. Of course, unfortunately, it's changed during the last 20 years that I've been living here, and now we do lock the houses. When I just moved, in many cases, we never locked the houses or the cars. So it's not as safe as it was 20 years ago, but still, it's one of the safest countries in Europe. As I mentioned before, I'm not a tax expert, but Cyprus has amazing taxation, and I believe in one of the slides we will share a bit more information. And during our online consultation, if you would choose to do that, we will be able to discuss more or arrange for you professional consultation with tax advisors. Cyprus has excellent infrastructure and rich historical heritage. In spite of the fact that the island is so small, it's very diverse. And there are lots of archaeological places and nature places to really enjoy these lifestyle opportunities that Cyprus presents. If we go now to the part of the real estate, what is happening now? Is the market active? Are the transactions happening? Are the prices going up? What is happening? And in Cyprus, we have an amazing system where all the contracts of sales are registered in the sales department. This statistics is open for the public, so you can go yourself on the website of Departments of Land Surveys and check the activity of the market during the period that is of interest to you. Here we just show you the graph just to give you an understanding during the last 11 years. And you can see that, yes, we had a drop in sales in 2013. Obviously, we had a drop in 2020 because the island has been closed for the whole year. But 2021 was very active. And I will show you a bit later what is happening now. And actually, this year it can be called the year on record. We have lots and lots of activity. In Cyprus, we have 5 main areas or 5 main districts: Paphos, Limassol, Larnaca, Famagusta, and Nicosia. And here we just see the distribution of the sales, but I think for the purpose of our presentation, this slide would be of more interest. And this is the geographical distribution of real estate acquired by foreigners in 2021. And you can see that, of course, if we come back to the first slides of my presentation, when I was talking about the sun and the sea, of course, most foreigners, foreign investors, they consider areas near the sea. And we can see that Paphos and Limassol, they are clear winners with the number of sales recorded in 2021. Why am I covering, why I'm talking about the sales? Because it's very important to understand what is happening with supply and demand and what is happening with prices. Here we have the picture from the official property price index. I have to make a note that in reality, the prices are going much more than it is reflected in this graph. Okay, and there are many reasons for that. The first reason is our previous slides that were showing the activity in the market. We also all see now that the cost of construction materials is growing up, and when the prices of new build is going up, resale market always follows. There is also, during COVID time, we had less construction activity, so less new stock was coming on the market. So we now feel, especially in some areas of Cyprus, if someone is looking for a new build ready properties, we are very restricted with our choices. So the prices now are going up. The market in Cyprus is very segmented. So in some areas, the property prices are going at more rapid pace. In some areas, not so much. And if you see what is happening with the activity, again, as we are talking about the new build, what is the main indication of the future activity? This is the building permits. Again, the Statistics Service of Cyprus provides us with this information, and we can see that there was a very big increase of the building permits starting from 2014 and going up. Then there was a drop, and now we again see the increased activity. Now I want to talk a little bit about the types of property that we have in Cyprus. Even though, of course, like it's not that in Cyprus we live in different apartments or in different houses, but there are some more or less clear industry standards. So it's important for you to understand that when you hear, let's say, 1-bedroom apartment, what is it? If it's 2-bedroom, what is it? And in fact, now we witnessed the clear difference between European standards and Cyprus standards when there was a discussion of the VAT, the new law for VAT. In fact, in many cases, standard properties in Cyprus, they are larger compared to standard properties in Europe. So let's start with the first type of property, which are apartments. So apartment is a housing unit that occupies part of the building, generally on a single story. In Cyprus, the big difference is that the apartments usually have large covered or uncovered veranda. And in many cases, the covered veranda would be considered for you as well as part of the living space. Because of the weather, you spend so much time outside, so covered verandas become really part of your space. And actually, if you drive through Cypriot towns in summer, you will see lots of people sitting on the veranda watching TV, having their dinners, breakfast, etc. So let's see, when you hear studio, what can you expect as standard? So studio would be an open plan kitchen and living sleeping area plus bathroom. The square meters, in Cyprus we use square meters, would be around 40 square meters. If we're talking about 1 bedroom, it would be kitchen, living dining area, 1 bedroom plus separate bathroom. More or less, the sizes would be from 50 square meters plus covered and uncovered verandas. 2 bedroom, same as before, just additional bedroom. And depending on the design, it would be either 1 or 2 bathrooms. And the standard size would be from 80 square meters plus verandas. 3 bedrooms, same, just additional bedroom and possibly additional bathroom from 110 square meters and up. Of course, dear friends, this is general information. Always, when we even start talking to you and we provide you information, we would always share technical details of the property that has all this information. What is very important to consider when you are buying property, when you're buying apartment, is that in most cases that would be part of the complex, and buying property, you also become responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of the common areas. And in many cases, the common areas would have swimming pool. They would now more and more places have gym, some sort of business facilities, because again, this is one of the requests that we start having more and more after COVID time, when with the cases of lockdown, it was nice to have all these facilities in-house. But just have in mind that when you buy as part of the communal common facilities, you will have to pay the proportion of the upkeep. Second type of the property is the townhouse. The townhouse is a type of terraced affordable housing, often with a small garden, and often it is quite small footprint on multiple floors. Normally, in Cyprus, we build 2 or 3 bedroom townhouses, and again, like apartments, they are normally part of bigger complexes with communal swimming pool, parking, and other amenities. A typical townhouse, and you can see even the typical plan, would have a living, dining, kitchen area and a guest toilet downstairs, and 2 or 3 bedrooms and 1 or 2 bathrooms upstairs, and the sizes would start more or less from 85 square meters. Important notice that you would always have a little bit of a garden space where you can put your barbecue or something that you like. Now we are moving to detached houses, and here you will in general, several terms are used. So it can be called a villa, or it can be called detached house, or sometimes even semi-detached house if it's, let's say, 2 houses together. But here we are using the example of detached house and villa, but slash detached house. So it's a freestanding single family residential unit. In most cases, when we talk about these type of properties, in many cases it would be part of a small residential complex. It would be detached house located on a small plots. You will, in some cases, there will be enough area to have your private swimming pool and a private garden, and more or less the detached house will have a living, dining, kitchen area downstairs, or sometimes 1 bedroom can be downstairs and 2, 3, or 4 bedroom upstairs. The plot size can be as small as 200 square meters, and it can go more, and the houses again can be even from 110, from 120 square meters going up. Outdoors areas will include terrace, barbecue, parking place, small garden, and other features. The last type that I'm going to discuss is, again, it will be called villa, but I would call it more a residence or custom-made house. In most cases, this would be a custom-made design or unified design, but with a bigger plot and with the possibility of changing the design. And here, of course, there is no standard. Here it would be what your imagination and what your dreams will take you. So it can be 3 to 8 or more bedrooms. In these cases, for the custom-made residence, in most cases, the plot would be minimum 500, and it can be as big as the plot allows. So now, this was the small presentation of the typology of the properties in Cyprus. And now let's go to construction. Okay, so we are talking today about the new build. In Cyprus, in many cases, lots of people would be considering buying properties even off plan. And I am very comfortable talking about this subject because for 17 years I was working for a developer. So I know the construction process, I know the stages of construction and advantages or disadvantages of investment at any stage. And when you are considering buying a new build property, then it's important to understand what stage of construction we are looking at. The first stage, where the sales are allowed by law, would be off-land stage. And when I say allowed by law, I mean that from what point the sales contract can be registered in the land registry. Why is that important? Because when the contract of sale is registered in the land registry, then your interest as your legal interest as a buyer are already protected and registered. So this is very important. So off-plan property is sometimes it's called pre-loan property, but mostly it would be called off-plan. So this is the sale when the structure has not been constructed yet. Okay, this is the time when is actually the most beneficial entry point if you want to make capital gains, because always at the pre-launch or launch price or launch stage, developer would be more willing to provide maximum discount and to provide better prices. Also, this is very clear that in most cases, and I'm always very careful when I'm talking about price increases. So because the market, I think all over the world have been crazy. So it's a bit difficult to say for sure that 100% the price will go up. So I would say, I would use the word historically or traditionally. So in most cases, the price increase from the point of off plan, from the point of launch and until the point of completion, more or less we're talking about 15-20% increase in prices of properties. So this is a good time to buy if you're not moving immediately, or what many developers are offering, they can offer you accommodation for the time of construction. In Cyprus, depending on the type of property, we are looking for the time for the development cycle, typically between 12 to 24 months. But again, it depends on the type of project, whether it's a single house or it's a department or it's an apartment building, or let's say if we have high scale development, then the cycle can be even more. The second type, when you hear the property is under construction, this means that the property is already under construction. You can see that the construction works are going there, so the property project is unfinished, but the works are going. The advantages here is that you still can benefit from better prices. By the way, I forgot to say that when we're talking about off-plan, you have the advantage of the best price, but also very often you have advantage of the best pick. What I mean, you can choose the best units because, of course, almost everything is available. Also, both with off-plan and under construction, you can benefit from the payment plans of the developer, because in this case, you don't need to pay everything at once. You pay in stages. And then the final stage of construction, or in this case, the stage of buying new build property. And when I say new build, I mean that it is the first sale from developer. I mean that it was not used by anyone. You get the brand new property. And the last type is completed property. This is when it's fully constructed with finishes, built-in furniture, and sanitary ware in place. Why we put this note? Because we noticed that in many countries, new built properties are delivered without finishes. They are delivered as shell and core, meaning that then you as owner, you at your own expense buy all the finishes, furniture, sanitary ware, etc. In Cyprus, all the properties from the developers would be completed with finishes, which you can choose if you buy at earlier stage, with sanitary ware and built-in furniture. More and more we see cases where developers are offering electrical appliances as part of the package, and also in many cases we as agents can negotiate with the developers the key ready property. When you actually, during the time of construction, you can choose absolutely everything and you just get the key, enter, and that's it. So is everything clear? Are there any questions for that part of presentation while I'm having okay, so I move on. Okay, so now we looked with you at the different stages of construction. Now let's go a little bit about the pricing and payments. So as I mentioned earlier, prices at the off-plan stage and at excuse me. Prices at the I think you should type the questions. So prices at the off-plan stage are significantly lower than if we compare with the finished product. Also, like I mentioned earlier, payment plans are usually derived by the developer according to the stage of construction. Oh God, I'm very sorry. What is very important to know when you are buying new property? All properties in Cyprus, the new properties, they are subject to VAT. And VAT in Cyprus is 19%. However, it is important to mention that if you're buying the property for your personal use, then you can benefit from the reduced VAT and you will only pay 5% instead of 19%. Of course, there are details, and if we come to this point, we will definitely consult you a bit more on this subject. So now let's see what are the main advantages of investing in the new properties versus resale properties. The main advantages, one point, if you are not from Europe, then when you buy a new property, then you become eligible for the permanent residency. And now this option becomes very attractive for our investors and buyers from the UK as well. When UK was part of Europe, this was not an objective of the buyers. But now, with all things being equal, the new property would give you huge advantage of getting a permanent residency fast track process. So once again, just have in mind that new property, if you are not from the European Union, if you invest with new property in Cyprus, then you can get permanent residency that will give you lots of additional rights. The second thing, of course, you have a choice of finishes, sanitary ware, everything. So you can finish the property based on your taste. You don't need to change something. Let's say in many cases, you like the property, but you don't like the tiles. or you don't like the marble, or you don't like the colors, when you buy new property, you can choose anything you want. Very important point is the higher quality of construction. Of course, it depends. There are some very good quality resales on the market as well. But if we look at the older resales in Cyprus, unfortunately, the quality of construction was quite poor in many cases. So you didn't have proper sound insulation, you didn't have proper thermal insulation. The many properties are not energy efficiency. The quality of material is different. The quality of architecture is different. So, of course, with new properties, in most cases, not always, but in most cases, you get significantly higher quality of construction. The use of modern technologies, like now, for in Cyprus, 100% you need to have heating and cooling systems. And before, the only options available were the standard air conditioning units with the external unit hanging either on the walls or on the roof. Now, there are lots of VRV technologies, heating pumps, lots underfloor heating, lots of modern technologies that improve the quality of life in these properties. Increased safety. More and more times we see that developers launch the projects already with alarm systems, with fire alarm systems, some with security, and also you get your first ownership. So you are the first people who have who use this property, and basically you can feel it with your own memories, with your own energy, with your own philosophy of life. So these were the main points about the advantages of the new build. Now I want to go back once again to the point of what are the Cyprus real estate advantages. So we covered a little bit with you the lifestyle of Cyprus, which we covered extensively. Why would someone consider moving and buying to Cyprus? However, Cyprus is an excellent destination for investment. Especially now, we see a huge increase in the request for rentals. So, in many cases, the return on your investment is excellent. Like now, in many cases, we can easily get 4, 5, and sometimes even 6% return on your investment from the long-term rentals. I'm not even talking about short-term rentals, which is very lucrative, provided that the property was chosen correctly and the management company is good. As I mentioned earlier, Cyprus offers a possibility to get a permanent residency status in Europe with buying property. Amazing, very, very clear program, and absolutely amazing. We also, other thing that we see while people invest in Cyprus is the diversification of their assets. I promise that I will cover a little bit about the taxes, because indeed Cyprus has one of the best tax systems in Europe. It's very important to mention that Cyprus is not an offshore destination. It's not a gray destination. Everything is clear. Everything is transparent. But look, guys, how many zeros we can see on this slide? And when we talk about taxes, zero is absolutely amazing. So we have zero property tax. We have zero inheritance tax. Actually, here we're talking about taxes and payment for the property, but I will add up the other things as well. So with taxes for property, you have reduced VAT of 5% and 19% full VAT. The stamp duty is minimal. When you buy new property, you do not have transfer fees. But if you buy resale property, Then you have transfer fees, and they're calculated based on the values, and it goes from 1.5 to 4%. But when we go back to taxes, let me tell you something else. So we have 0% property tax. We have 0% inheritance tax. If you are moving company to Cyprus, and we can see more and more companies moving to Cyprus, the corporate tax is only 12.5%. We have amazing non-domicile regime that when you become a tax resident in Cyprus, you have 0% tax on your passive income. So the taxes overall are absolutely amazing, and I will be very happy to discuss further. As I can see that most people, we have sort of 50-50 of our attendees. We have people from Europe and people from non-European countries. So very briefly, I will only touch base on the Cyprus permanent residency for via investment. The main point is that by investing in property, you can get lifelong permanent residency in EU. It's fantastic that this permit covers 3 generations. So not only investor and the spouse of investor gets the permit, also the dependent children up to the age of 25 years old, and the parents of both investor and the spouse of investor. Very important that when the children become older, they don't lose this status, they keep it forever. This status also allows you to run business in Cyprus. This is very important. And now there are some discussions in the parliament. Maybe they will even allow being self-employed. The investment criteria for the permanent residency is very simple. You need to invest at least 300,000 plus VAT when applicable in the qualified investments. The most popular, I would say that it is the investment in building in the residential property, and you can buy 1 or 2 properties. There is also investment in real estate excluding housing, but then you will need to add the rental contract because you will need to show that you are residing or have a place to reside in Cyprus, and investment in the share capital of the company or investment in units of Cyprus investment funds. So all in all, timeline 2 months, valid for life. You only need to visit Cyprus once every 2 years, issued for the whole family, and it's done with the investment of 300,000 euros. I need to make a little note that even though it's mentioned here unofficially the timeline of 2 months, in practice we can see that it's a little bit longer. So we are talking about 3-4 months. I can see that we have lots of the listeners from European Union. So in Europe, you know that we have 4 major freedoms, and one of the freedom is the freedom of movement and freedom of residence. So any citizen of any European country can actually move and live and work in Cyprus. However, you still need to register. So there is still a procedure that you need to follow. So all EU nationals should register with the local immigration department within 4 months of entering the Republic. It's a very simple procedure, so it's not complicated at all. This permit is called yellow slip. So as soon as you get yellow slip, then you have an automatic right to legally work and live in Cyprus. The one point to consider that you need to be physical present, and there is just some small expenses that you need to cover. What is very important, as what I mentioned earlier, that both the holders of the yellow slip and the holders of the permanent residency, the investment permanent residency status, you can register with the government medical system Yianni, provided that you actually live in Cyprus. And now I will only do very, very, very brief sample properties. And this is only just really, really small examples. In our property database, we have thousands of properties, both new and resales. So I only want to show you what you can get for your money in various areas of Cyprus. And let's say now, Limassol is one of the most expensive destinations in Cyprus. Of course, it's also one of the destinations that offers one of the highest rental income. Let's say this apartment under construction in Limassol, which is now being sold for 340,000 plus VAT, will be rented now between 1,500 and 1,700 euros per month, which will bring you a yearly return on your investment, roughly about 5%. 2 bedrooms in Limassol, they would come for about 550,000. In Paphos, we have different prices. You can get even for 590,000 and even less, 3-bedroom detached houses. So the pricing is very vast. So that's why when we start working with our prospective client, we always say that let's discuss your needs, because we are talking about investment of big amounts of money. So it's very important to understand, to find something that will fulfill your criteria and that will fulfill your goals. So we prepared that very nice checklist, and we will be happy to share if this would be of use to you. So basically, before you start thinking about property, it's nice to go through the thought process. Just go and ask yourself some questions. Why do I want to buy in Cyprus? Do I want to buy in Cyprus? You the recording of our previous webinar where we spoke extensively about different areas of Cyprus, and we will share the link with you. Very important question: how much am I willing to invest? Because as I mentioned earlier, we have huge amount of properties at different budgets. But what budget would be comfortable for you? What property type would be best for me? And of course, additional big and small requirements: seaside, sea view, golf, hills. In fact, I will give you a little tip as well. On our main website, we created the lifestyle collections. So you can go, and if you want to have a property with a sea view, you can go and sort the properties in the sea view collection. And then the question: am I looking for ready property, or can I consider off plan or newly built or resale property? All this will help you make the right choice later on when you come to Cyprus. And very briefly, I will share why we believe that it is advantageous and time efficient to work with agency. That the main question would be, or the first question: can you buy the property in Cyprus without using the services of agents? Yes, In theory, you can. If you have lots of time, if you lived in Cyprus for a long time and you have local knowledge. We offer you time efficiency because we would save you time by offering the options that are suitable for you. Of course, local knowledge, all the salespeople in our company, they live in Cyprus. They know not only the developer, they know the hospitals, they know the shops, they know the schools, they know kindergarten, they know tax advisors, they know, let's say, maybe which areas is loud at night because the young bikers are driving around. So you have the advantage of local knowledge to understand the areas and whether it's suitable for your personal use. And of course, professional experience, knowledge of the real estate market, property due diligence. Like when I was telling you about the benefits and advantages of buying new built properties, of course, there are some risks as well. But the risks are limited if you go with the professional agents, because we always check all the documents. We know all the developers, we know the background, the financial situation, what is important to include in the contract to protect the rights, which brings you to have much lower risk. And of course, the professional agencies, if it's not just a one man band, we will have a big database of properties. In many cases, we have information about new properties, upcoming opportunities, the properties that are not on the market yet, or in many cases, especially lots of local owners, they do not want their properties to be marketed everywhere. We have lots of off-market properties. And if we very quickly say that if you go with how to choose the agent, always check the license, always check if they have real experience, the location, if they have the office, do they have the physical office, is there a team of agent or just an introducer and advisor, reputation, knowledge, and focus on the client. As I said, that I always tell our brokers that good agent is first and foremost is the property advisor. So very before we come to the questions, very quickly, what is the process? Let's say that you like the idea of buying property in Cyprus. You understand what property, what sort of property you want and why you want it. So the buying process is actually quite simple. So you need to understand your requirements. We would advise to engage real advisor of your choice. And very important, in Cyprus by law, the commission to the real estate agents are paid by the sellers and not by the buyers. We will prepare together with you your trip, itinerary, KYC document, one thing to consider for absolutely everyone. When I said I was talking about advantages of Cyprus, I mentioned that we have modern banking and legal system, and it's absolutely true and correct. However, Cyprus banks are very strict with their KYC procedure and with their due diligence procedure. They would always require any buyer to provide source of funds documents. If so, we will help you prepare these documents. If you are considering applying for the permanent residency, we will prepare together, advise you what documents you need, book your trip to Cyprus, or proceed with online viewing, view selected property, and choose the right property. Again, we would always advise to appoint a local registered solicitor. The next step is to withdraw the property from the market, because especially now, it's a very important step. The market is very active. So if you like the property, you need to pay a small reservation deposit, which is absolutely safe procedure, because if the deal is not possible through the fault of seller, let's say by, I don't know, by any chance, the property doesn't have permits or there is an issue with the sale, this reservation deposit is refundable. And then you have time to discuss the sale agreement. So you sign the sale agreement, deposit the sale agreement in the land registry, and depending on whether it's a new build or resale property, either you pay in full before the registration in the land registry, or you go in stages based on the sale agreement. And then we come to my favorite part of the buying process, which is the part where you can enjoy your new home in the sun. We work as an agency. Should you decide to engage us, then we would always start our work with you with a personal online consultation with our property expert. And in fact, you can see above our presentation a red button, book your free consultation, where you can write what time would it be convenient for you to have an online consultation with our property expert, where we can discuss your goals. Is Cyprus suitable for these goals? In fact, we had several cases when we started conversation and we could see that other countries would be more suitable for our investors. So we actually referred our investors to other Sotheby's International Realty office in a different country, and they were very happy to continue working with them. Discuss all this. After that, we would prepare together for the trip, as I mentioned before, documents, etc., etc., prepare the long and short list of properties, guide and assist you through the whole process. And what is very important, we always provide you after sale services. What I mean, this is like one of the motto of all our salespeople. We would only offer you the house that we would be happy to resell on your behalf if the situation changes. So all in all, that was my presentation. We still have, I managed not to be more than 1 hour. So now let's see if there are any questions, and please type your questions in the chat. We still have about 5 minutes to answer the question. So, question from our YouTube stream: is there demand for luxury houses in Nicosia? Nicosia has very interesting demand. Mostly it's a local demand, but lately we can see requests from foreign buyers who relocate their business and they choose Nicosia being capital for their staff or for their headquarters. So yes, there is demand, but I would say that demand is less compared to other cities. Thank you very much for compliment. Thank you. How does it work for bank loans with the bank? Do you know the rates? Yes, that's an excellent question. And now there is if you're buying for your personal use, you can obtain the loan from the banks. Of course, we will need to check what would be the ratio and what would be the procedure. If I'm not mistaken, but I will double check because we didn't have loans for a while. I believe that it's about 3%, but let me double check and we come back with exact rate. And for a financial investment, yes, the bank would be qualifying your investment and they have different rates. If it's for your personal use, then the rate will be lower and you will only need to provide the documents providing your capability of repayment. If it's a financial investment, that they will give you less money. Let's say if we are talking about personal property, then they can consider in certain cases up to 60-70% of the value. If it's financial investment, then it would be in most cases, again, Why I'm saying? Because all the banks are different, but in most cases, they will not give you more than 50% of required funds, and your rate will be higher and the repayment period will be shorter. Um, Thank you. Okay, the question, I'm non-EU citizen with permanent residency in Germany. Can a non-EU person rent out a property in Cyprus? Do you mean, let me just ask, do you mean that you own the property in Cyprus and you want to rent it out and earn money? Or do you want to come to Cyprus, live in Cyprus, and not buy, rent a property? Living in Germany and rent the property in Cyprus. Um, this is one of the things that unfortunately is a gray, it's gray area, but at the same time, it's not a gray area. So the official answer would be that if you rent it through the company, then you can go and rent it. Everyone is renting the properties that they own. So again, let's discuss in details when if you tell us what is the property and where it is, etc., etc. Okay, so as I can see, okay, someone is typing, so thank you. Okay, then in this case, thank you very much for your time and attention. I'm very grateful that you stayed with us and found time to be with us. To finish the presentation, I would like to invite you all to Cyprus, where we would be very happy to welcome you, to show you best of Cyprus, regardless of whether you're buying the property in Cyprus or you're only visiting. So you're always welcome. It would be our pleasure. And at the moment, I'd like to wish you all health, happiness, and in this time, and peace as well. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye.